From the world. My name is Alexandra Oma, your host with the mostest. Thank you for tuning into Uganda at Crossroads. As always, we do apologize that we've started a little bit later than the time that we usually start the show at. But we always want to thank you for your own continued support and just continue to love on us and sharing the show and leaving your comments, inboxing us with things that you want to see happen on the show, topics you want us to talk about. We greatly appreciate the feedback from all of you guys who keep watching the show and all those guys who leave a little comment here, leave a little comment there on how we can be better. So we always appreciate that kind of information and feedback from you guys. We are starting on a sad note. Before we continue, we want to just take a moment and recognize and just send out our dear and sincere condolences to one of our very own, Quincy Barebe, woman-elect for council in Anne Arundel. She lost her father earlier on yesterday due to a heart attack, and she is been very detrimental in building Uganda at Crossroads. Her father, the late Honorable Amon Reeves, is the reason why Uganda at Crossroads actually exists. He has been one of the biggest pillars in building this show. He's pushed interviews for us. He has done so many things to make sure that this show comes to you how it is, the topics and things we talk about. He has been one of the driving forces behind Uganda at Crossroads and behind Campfire TV and behind Life MTV Live. So we want to take this moment to just say, guys, we hope you guys are doing okay. We know this is a very trying time, but we are here for you in any way that you need us to be. So we are going to be having a vigil, a memorial service for the late Honorable Amon Reeves here tomorrow at the Fireplace Church. So please, if you're in Boston, if you're around Waltham area, please come and be with us as we stand with the family of Quincy and all her siblings and family members in this time when they're going through such a big storm. So we hope that these guys are doing so well. The trip is going to be horrible, but we hope and wish you strength wherever you guys are going. To kick off Uganda at Crossroads, we have so much stuff that happened this last few weeks. Yesterday, we were honored to have the presence of the Lord Mayor Elias Tukwago in the studios with us. So that was a major program. I'm going to replay it during the day. You guys are going to see the show. You're going to have a chance to interact and leave your messages because his team is going to be able to answer that. If you didn't watch it, stay tuned. You're going to watch that. You're going to enjoy it. It was such a fun interview. He's very enlightening. He's very people-oriented, and he does such a good job. So he was in the studio yesterday. He said a lot of things. You guys need to watch the show to actually see what he's talking about, what his ideas are for Kampala, what he hopes Uganda is going to be in the next few months. But we're going to keep all that for all our activists who come in every weekend and share their thoughts with you guys. I want to give them a chance to introduce themselves, and then we can jump into the hot topics that made Uganda what it is today. Guys, thank you again for always just, being here and talking to us and sharing your thoughts and just, being people's eyes and ears into the world of politics that is in Uganda. So I'm going to give you a chance to introduce yourselves, and then we can go on and start the show.
All right, thank you so much, moderator. I'm exceedingly humbled and honored to be back on this platform of Uganda at Crossroads, where we discuss about the current events in our country, Uganda, the Pearl of Africa. My name, dear viewers, is Seguia Hilary Innocent Taylor, and I'm very passionate about the developments in our country. And I'm also looking forward to getting a fundamental change in our country, because for 33 years we've had one president. So I would like to see a young president taking over from the dictator we currently have in our country. I thank you all for watching this program, mainly those who are watching from Uganda, because I know it's very hard to watch us on social media simply because of the social media tax that was put up by this government of dictator General Kaguta Museveni. But thank you so much for sacrificing your resources and engage in a conversation with us. I'm looking forward to interacting with everyone here in house.
And Sarah, always good to see you in the house. So we're good to always have you. I want to give you a chance to say hello.
Definitely. I'm so glad to be here. It's always I look forward to every weekend because so much is happening in Uganda. Uganda is like a movie. It's like we should transfer Hollywood should transfer to Uganda,
And move location, change location.
Change location because that's a movie theater. A lot is happening, and you're like, it has ceased to be. Before they used to be things that are annoying, now they are funny. It's like comedy. So I'm glad to be here with our viewers who listen, who view us from all over the world. It's always interesting. Uganda Crossroads, so many is happening in Uganda, and I'm sure we have a lot to talk about today.
All right. So for everyone watching us, thank you again for always tuning in. Please share the page. Don't forget to like the page, Live MTV Live, as well as the Campfire Talk Show. Share the page with whoever you think is going to be interested in having a conversation with us. Don't forget to let us know where you're watching us from. We have so many people. We had someone from China last time, India, we have Paris, we have New Jersey. We love the fact that you guys are engaging in these conversations and you're keeping it fun and entertaining. And I know at the end of the day, we're trying to figure out together what we can do for you, what best all of us can do for Uganda. So this show, Uganda Crossroads, is basically for us individuals, more like me, people who don't know much about politics, but we are curious and we're interested and want to know what we can do, what part we can play in making Uganda a better place for our children, for our parents, for our grandparents, and for everyone in the future. So if you don't understand politics like me, you come and watch this show. And then I go ahead and bring people who know politics, who have their own say, who have read the books, have seen the shows, seen the interviews. They know who's who in the scene that makes up the political scene. We bring those people here and they talk to us, they explain to us what is going on, what needs to be done, what role every Ugandan should play in building a better Uganda. So excuse me sometimes if you see that I look like I don't know what's happening. Yes, I do not know. That's why I have these brainiacs, these people who study. This guy is from Harvard, so he tells me what's going on. He enlightens me. So, nzo muntu wa wansi, nzo muntu wa wansi nze ku show, njagala kumanya bigenda mu Uganda bibeerawo nange ndabe ekyokukola. And I like the fact that they come in, they open your mind, they talk to you, Nogamba, you know what? I think we can do this together. I think we can win this fight if we happen to, just... So that's the reason why we have this show. So, first things first, this is what happened during this week. Museveni said, I will not retire until Africa is developed. Let's start with that. And earlier on at the iPod summit that was held at Speak Munyonyo Resort, that is basically what everyone took, or what everyone had, what everyone took on, and what is still ringing in our heads. So I'm going to throw the ball to you two, and then, just tell us what's happening. I'm going to start with Sarah because Museveni is your best friend, and he's someone you love talking about, and someone you're so passionate about. This is something that you want to... You must have been dying just to say how, like, today you have really given me what to talk about. So I'm going to start with you. Tell us what happened during the iPod summit and what's your take on the matter.
Interesting. You just mentioned Seven is your best friend. Literally, for me, the best friend to come from if I ever get a chance to meet him, I'll tell him the things he doesn't want to hear because. But going back to the iPod summit. Just like we discussed that some time back and we asked ourselves, why is the summit happening? For me, from what I saw from the members of opposition, what they did was they told him exactly what he doesn't want to hear. But at the same time, what he did, when he came on, he made everyone look like a fool. He made everyone look like they wasted their time to go and attend such a mockery of a show. You talk about, you talk about, you claim you're focused at the development of Africa. Why are you even bothered about Africa? You're not the president of Africa. You're the president of Uganda, which is one of the poor countries, the poorest countries in the world. Why are you focusing on Africa? It's like me coming to your house and organizing it and sweeping it when my house is so that I have not swept for a year. Why am I cleaning up your house if I cannot clean up mine? So I don't know what kind of weed, I'm sorry to say, I don't know what kind of weed he's using. He's becoming so delusional. He's becoming so delusional for him to think that the prosperity of Africa is more important than the prosperity of Uganda. Because look at the neighboring countries. I remember when Rwanda went into war, I remember when we were young and they used to tell us don't even eat fish. At that time we're not even eating fish from Lake Victoria because of what happened in Rwanda. Look at Rwanda right now. Rwanda is more developed than Because if you're going to talk about development of Africa, look at countries like Kenya. Kenya is not on the same level as Uganda. So many investors are running to invest in Kenya. Look at the tourism in Kenya. Where does most tourists go? You've seen the Prince of Britain, Prince William, when he takes holiday, he has done more trips to Kenya. He has not even been to Uganda, you know that?
No, he has not.
But he has done more trips in Kenya. You know how much money he brings in whenever he comes to Kenya? They come and do their safaris in Kenya. So many celebrities have come and done their safaris in Kenya. People go to Kilimanjaro, that's in Tanzania. People go, and these countries are far much better when it comes to tourism. Okay, Rwanda is also even doing much better. Right now, Helen DeGeneres, one of the reality show hosts in America, is putting up a sanctuary in Rwanda.
Wow.
She's preserving wildlife in Rwanda, and they're putting up a wildlife center in Rwanda. It's going to cost billions and billions of money. This is her money and donations coming from people who love her. Do you know how many people she's going to employ in Rwanda? But all these things are happening in Rwanda. You see the tourism of Uganda compared to Rwanda. It is, look at what happened. I saw what happened with Miss Uganda. And then when I read about what was happening, this Brenda Nanyonjo went to different organizations, to different government institutions to ask for help from Miss Uganda. No one even cared because they feel that is not important. When the girl is now in top 5, top 30, Uganda they almost want to jump onto the plane to hold the flag. They want to hold the flag at this point in time because it makes sense, it makes them benefit. So it is so annoying for him to talk about development and prosperity of Africa when he has not even done anything to prosper Uganda. The other time I posted something, in 2014, Museveni said by 2018, we are going to be manufacturing cars. We cannot even manufacture simple things like cups, leave alone the plastic cups Kwano makes.
Yeah.
We cannot manufacture simple things like real cups. We cannot manufacture plates apart from the plastic plates that come from Kwano. There's nothing tangible that comes out of Uganda. And in 2014, and then you talk about 2020, Uganda is going to be a middle class economy. How? And then at this point in time, you're talking about prosperity of Africa. When you look at the East African countries, Uganda is the poorest. When you look at Uganda, Kenya, and Tanzania, Uganda is the poorest of all those countries.
I'm going to cut you off because we're getting some feedback, and I'm going to give my team a few minutes just to make sure we clear that out of the way. And I'm going to circle back to you. So, Hillary, when you hear what Sarah is saying, do you think this was from the moment the iPod was mentioned, this whole thing of having to call back and get all the opposition leaders in one place and have them have an open dialogue? People said it was a bad idea. And then it actually happened. It actually, took place. Were they right to begin with? Was this a good idea? Did it say that? Did you think that it was going to get out any good results, or have we portrayed exactly what people expected to happen? Do you think anything was achieved, or we're still doing exactly what we knew was going to happen and nothing has come out of it?
Yes. Well, as to me, as someone who believes in the power of diplomacy or negotiations, I believe it's imperative to have dialogue in each and everything that we do. Because I'll tell you that as it's said that when the elephants are fighting, it's the grass that suffers. Yes. So if we have conflicts between our political parties, then it's we, the civilians, the wananchi, who are going to suffer at the end of the day. Sure. But once these political elephants come on table and forge a way for a better Uganda, then I think that's a very good thing to have. But with negotiations, you have to know who are you going to negotiate with, what's your strength and what's your opponent's weaknesses. So I think the opposition, those who represented the opposition, they failed to know their strengths. And they fail to know the weaknesses of the person they're going to have dialogue with. Because Mr. Museveni is not someone you can trust. Even if you look at years ago, like during the Mosh conference in Tanzania, they were having a conference with Mwalimu Julius Nyerere. in order to have a better Uganda. Museveni ran away from that dialogue and he started the guerrilla war. So that's the kind of Museveni that you see. You can't trust him. They went to Kenya with Okellos to have dialogue again for a better Uganda. Museveni ran away. He disagreed. So if you look at the past events, like during the era of the UNFL, you see that Museveni was disagreeing with the likes of the Binaisas, the Lulés, because he didn't see any value in what they were tabling. So that's when he was forced to form UPM, Uganda People's Movement. Yeah. So for dialogue, Museveni is not someone you trust with issues of dialogue. Because again, if you look at 2 decades ago or 1.5 decades ago, during the civil war we had with Joseph Kony, because they used to have peace talks. The government of Uganda led by President Museveni and Joseph Kony with his Lord Resistance Army, LRA. You could see that once they agreed to ceasefire, Museveni was doing the opposite and he was attacking the LRA. So Museveni is not someone you can trust with dialogue. And again, if you look at some of the takeaways from this dialogue, because the president was insisting that, yes, I am not going nowhere. So if someone is telling you, I'm going nowhere, then how do you even start having dialogue with that person? However much we say that dialogues are very important. So it's very hard. You see that he was mainly emphasizing on 2 points out of his entire speech. The first point was saying that it is the issue of prosperity that brought him into power. Then the second issue was saying that it was the issue of security. So he has come up with lots of poverty eradication schemes, but they've not worked. He was telling us poverty for all, prosperity for all. But we see that Ugandans are still encircled in that they are still befriended by poverty. So we can't trust Mr. Museveni when it comes to issues of dialogue. And you see also our brothers. I watched Mao's speech. It was very great. But again, I think there was no need for.
Did you notice he was almost, when I think Mao or someone else, or Basarira was giving the speech, he was dozing off. Literally, yeah.
This is not something new. I think we have seen it over
the president,
and over
and I'm like, why do you call people around and you're dozing off? He literally didn't listen to anything they said. He was literally dozing off.
Yes.
And when he came to his turn to speak, he just poured out his...
So why
exactly.
why are all these political parties wasting their time? They knew this was something that was not going to bring out any outcome. But we all knew that this is, yes, it's all good and well to sit down and have this open dialogue and talk. But did they expect any other results? I feel like they all knew this is this is mainly why FDC boycotted this event. There's nothing new.
Yeah, I agree with the position that the FDC took, because for them, they were very clear before even the iPod started. Because they were saying that we want our issues to be represented on the agenda. If you can't put our issues as part of the agenda, then there is no need for having this dialogue. But DP was playing, playing around. We couldn't know, like it was like a chameleon. Today they were saying we're not going for the iPod. And then tomorrow they're saying we are attending the iPod summit. So you can't trust such a person if you are in this political dispensation of our country. And again, you see that also the guys who attended, the three, look at UPC, DP, and JEMA of Basalirwa. You see that all these 3 political parties have been manipulated by President Museveni. You look at the party of UPC led by Jimmy Akena. Ever since Akena came to that party as a president, it's no longer sounding. That's not the UPC we used to know years ago.
It's no party.
So
it's just a name and a building.
Yes, NRM. It's like NRM bought UPCs. Now UPC is like a project of NRM. I think Akena is married to a lady from the ruling party, right? Because I saw the president going there during their wedding, and he was, talking very good things about them. So that's how Museveni is buying off people, like from different parties. So now you could see that for UPC, he bought it off. Now that one, they can't say anything. Now, if you look at also the issue of DP, Mao, you can't trust Mao because Mao is paying back. In 2014, remember very well when Mao was very ill. It was President Museveni who flew Mao from Gulu to Nairobi Hospital. Mao almost lost his life. But this President Museveni, put in the taxpayers' money to save his life. So it would look very bad for Mao not to attend that iPod summit for someone who saved his life. So he had to sacrifice all the ideologies, all the vision of the mighty Democratic Party to ensure that he attends because of his hidden agendas. So he bailed him out. Now, if you look at also the issue of Basalirwa, because Basalirwa is belonging to Jema, and Jema party only has one candidate in our parliament. That's Basalirwa. So if you look at the by-election of Bujiri, still you could see that the NRM Secretary General, Justice Kasule Lumumba, also played a big role to ensure that Basalirwa comes to parliament. So it's like also Basalirwa was paying back to the reward that was given to him from the NRM party. So for me, I think this dialogue thing was not very productive, because you see that they achieved nothing. It was, because in dialogue, we have to see that we get a win-win situation. But this was a win-lose situation for NRM. NRM won, the opposition lost. Because you could say that immediately after the summit, Museveni was praising himself all over social media. Yes, I can bring the opposition together and, we dialogue about the challenges we have in our country. But what did they achieve in this summit? There is nothing. The only thing that they achieved was one, funding our political parties. Because Museveni was telling them, when it comes to issues of funding, yes, I'm going to give you money. And they've been even receiving this money before. Before, yeah, the president remade his pledge of funding these political parties, because in our multi-political dispensation, the government of Uganda constitutionally is mandated to fund all political parties to ensure that they conduct their activities, their daily activities. They asked him about the issue of patronage. He was denying it. He was like, you see, I don't practice patronage, but it's evident enough that everywhere this government of Mr. Museveni is the king of patronage. And so for him, he was now disguising. The only patronage I use is called calculated patronage. So who is fooling who? And the way he was even talking or replying his opponents, his political opponents, it was not diplomatic enough to ensure that we forge solutions to our country. But overall, I think
we have someone saying
the time
it's not the one funding, it's constitution that's funding.
Yes, as I've said, constitutionally, it is the government to fund. Yes, however much maybe Bobby Wine is the president tomorrow, he will still fund all those political parties. Yeah. Yes. So I was saying that yes, dialogue is needed. But again, let's give it time and see, because they say that the next iPod summit will sit next year in 2019 May. So let's see, is this president going to, implement the few things he said that he would, emphasize? Because if you talk of, enabling all political parties to have the right to assemble, then why are you denying them to assemble? Because he was saying that for you to assemble, he gave 3 reasons. For you to assemble, you have to give me 1, the venue. Where are you going to assemble? Then 2 was saying the intention. What's your intention to assemble? Then the reason, because he was referring to the French demonstrations of the height gas prices. So he was saying whatever happened in France, because those guys were going on streets demonstrating against the government of Macron because petroleum prices had gone high, it can't happen in Uganda, I'm going to fight you. Then we're like, if you can't allow opposition leaders to assemble in gazetted places, because he was referring to the Order Public Management Act, that we can't meet anywhere, we can't assemble anywhere. We can't assemble in markets. But we've seen President Museveni going to markets each and every day. He has been to Nalukolongo Market, he has been to Nakasero Market, he has been to Kalere Market, he has been to Chiseka Market, he has been to the Old Tax Park, everywhere. So, in the multi-party dispensation, why can't the president also leave his opponents have the freedom to assemble anywhere, anyhow, so that they can convey their message to the populace, to their populace, other than himself, dictating where should you go, who should speak? I think that's wrong. And for the next iPod, I think all these secretary generals of our political parties have to stand on one position. They shouldn't allow to be manipulated by this president, and they shouldn't allow the president to treat them in that degrading way he treated them. Okay. They should refuse that, and they look for better ways to have a mature dialogue that will give us a better Uganda.
Okay. Just to clarify a few things, or maybe just to put some light on what's happening. I am getting a lot of people online commenting about the situation that's happening in Uganda right now. I do see a lot of people saying free Bobby Wine. He has been arrested in Jinja. I don't know the details, but I'm getting some communication from my production team, and I think I've just gotten a screenshot of a tweet that Bobby Wine has just put online saying, so police has raided City Hotel where we were resting ahead of the show tonight, and they have arrested many of our team members. As we speak, the police is surrounding the entire neighborhood looking for me. We shall overcome. So I don't even know where to start with.
That's the thing I was talking about, so the freedom to assemble.
I'm gonna just... Because I don't have any more details and this is just happening right now, I don't even know where to start with this topic. And I know a lot of people are making, you're putting on comments online. I do have, it's not one thing. As for me, I think we should be discussing how to develop, instead of discussing on now Museveni. Guys, if we do get any more information regarding the arrest of Bobby Wine, we don't know more. We don't have a lot of information right now to go on or to actually have a conversation started. So keep us updated with whatever is going on. If you guys know what's happening, just leave it in the comment section. I will read it and then we can have an open discussions. For now, I'm going to stick to some of the topics that are going on, and then we can continue that conversation as we know more of what's happening.
Yes, Moderator, just add a little thing about
I'm going to give Sarah a chance to talk, because you've gone through the 1 minute that I always allocate to you guys. I want to make sure that we don't lose so I'm going to give Sarah a chance to talk, and then we can move on to the next few topics. Sarah, I'm still going to be talking about Museveni. He mentioned, after him saying that he will not retire until Africa is developed, this is the same statement that I read that he mentioned this week. He said that he's going to scrap the elections for 2021 based on the fact that the security is going to be compromised. That was the statement he made. So he said, I'm going to just scrap the general elections. We don't need them. So that will allow me to just continue. Now, is there any falsehood to this? It's not something that new that we have not had before, but why? What's his motive at this point? After going through the iPod discussions and the conferences, and he has seen all the rioting. What more can we expect?
I think the problem with if you just take some time and study leaders of Africa, they get to a certain stage where they become so delusional, so detached, and they believe they're small gods and live in their own world. I think that's what is happening to our president. He's become detached, he's so delusional, he thinks he's a small god. But I always compare, I think Mugabe exactly behaved like Museveni. Oh, yes, but Mugabe didn't see it coming and is no longer president. And the way he was taken out, I'm even surprised they used a lot of decency when it comes to Mugabe.
When it came to him losing,
yeah. But Mugabe had everything. He tortured everyone. Look at Changalai, the way he was tortured, he ended up sick, the way his wife was murdered in an accident. So many opposition leaders were not even able to talk. But for you to, and there is nothing new he's doing that has not been done. And I don't know why he doesn't get that. There is nothing, if it's not been done in Uganda, another country has done it and people have seen it and people have witnessed it. There is nothing new Museveni has done, is doing right now, that other countries has not happened, or in other countries. But for him, at this point in time, there is no anything he can add on to Uganda. So he's so determined to cling on to power at whatever means. I saw him attacking a journalist from
A journalist,
NBS,
yes.
because I know who you're serving. I'm like, he was speaking exactly like someone I know. I won't mention. I'm like, are
Like
they
Trump?
Exactly. I'm like, who is possessing these people?
Because it was like we were watching a replay of that.
Exactly.
It was exactly like that.
I think instead of doing a lot in developing Uganda, he is doing a lot of time in watching CNN America. Because I hear stuff like fake news, I know who you're working for. And I'm like, this guy is putting a lot of time in watching what is happening in America, and he has failed to do stuff he's supposed to do in Uganda. Because if you do not want journalists or media houses that are independent to do what they're supposed to do, you want journalists who are supposed to report what you want, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. And it doesn't make sense. All these guys go through school, journalism school, and they are supposed to be transparent, authentic, for the sake of their job. Some of these guys are passionate about their professions. They are not there to serve you or to work for you. This is their career. You're not going to destroy someone's career just because you want to serve you in any way. And recently, because there are so many things he talked about he's going to do. He talked about, and before the summit, he was in Kololo for the anti-corruption gathering. You saw what happened. A video came up in Kamocha. They were paying people to get into a taxi, 10,000 to go to Kololo.
Wow.
Yes, a video came out. Literally, after the video, I was reading comments on that video, and guys said we made between 80 to 100,000. We would hop into a taxi, go to Kololo, call a boda, drive back to Kamocha, hop into another taxi, because the moment you sit in a taxi, they give you 10,000. So guys were really excited. They're like, I made 80,000.
Wow.
I made 100,000. People were so happy to make money because it was a money-making opportunity. But I'm like, after 32 years, Museveni is still paying people to go and be on his rallies, on his gatherings, there is a problem. There is a big problem. Because at this stage, if you've really done good, why are you paying people? Why are you paying people to come and listen to whatever you have to say? So it was really interesting and an eye-opener, because this is what has happened. I remember in 2016, the previous elections, border riders were given a T-shirt, they were given fuel and 20,000 each, just to be in Kololo. Because whoever was organizing the rally in Kololo knew that if they don't have numbers, they would be in trouble. But how are you going to fight corruption when you're still even paying people to go and attend your rallies? That's why so much is happening. And you know, when you give a broader sense, why are you even scared? Why are you even scared? I said it last time. Why are you scared of a small boy without guns? This boy is old enough to be your son. And when I read your stuff and say, oh, Bobi Wine has been raided, and either he has been arrested, it all comes to one thing. I listened to, and I've had a chance, I had you listen to what Professor Bukenya said. The Museveni is so scared of Bobi Wine because he sees himself in 1981. That's what he said. The Museveni of 1981 is exactly the Bobi Wine of today, because he's so determined, he's so resilient, he knows what exactly he wants, and he has so much courage. So he sees himself in this man, and he knows he's in trouble. Because you see, even if you want to neutralize Bobi Wine and make him look weak, but again, everything you're doing makes people even love him the more. Because you've done it to Besigye. You've done it to everyone. You've tortured people, you've stopped people. So why is people are saying, oh, I've just read some comments, oh, Bobi Wine is campaigning early. Bobi Wine is, if you're saying Bobi Wine is campaigning early, Museveni just gave away almost 1 billion in Kampala, which has no accountability. When he was giving money to the youth, what was he doing? He was campaigning. He was campaigning. Why was he giving them money? What had they done? What had the young people of Kampala, Kamocha, what had they done for Museveni to appreciate them with envelopes of money? He was campaigning. He campaigns every day. But I do not know why he still thinks we are stupid. These things have happened over and over again. That certain things no longer, like surprise you when you see things happening in Uganda. So if it's an issue of campaigning, he has campaigned every day. And he campaigns with money openly.
What I want to know is, at some point we have to take whatever he says seriously, because if you say you're going to scrap elections, that means there are repercussions making a statement like that. That means there's no reason for me to actually go back to Uganda, make the trip, and go put in papers to get my Ndagamuntu, because there's no reason for me to vote.
But would you be surprised
So
if Museveni woke up and scrapped elections? Do you think that would surprise Ugandans?
It's not surprising, but at this point we need to find another solution. Yesterday, when I interviewed His Lordship Elias Lukwago, he said, "Do not expect." These are the words that he said. He said, "I'm not. Don't quote me on what he said. But I'm just paraphrasing from what he mentioned yesterday." He's like, "Under this regime, do not expect the elections to have any different outcome than what has already been." Because he said us voting, it's just.
But again, let me correct you on
So
that before I hand over to Hillary. Again, Ugandans, you're not going to get change when you're cowards. We've seen dictators being voted out of power. Because if people like Lukwago, I've been hearing statements the entire week from Dr. Besigye, and I'm like, Besigye, if you think Museveni cannot be won through the vote, what is the other way? They don't say exactly how else Museveni can be taken out. But using common sense, if you don't take out someone through a ballot, if he doesn't die of natural causes, then you have to go and maybe start a war. Who are they going to take to start a war? Are they willing to start a war? Where are you starting from? Because at this point in time, the Ugandans are not ready even to go for any war. Ugandans, the biggest generations of Ugandans you have right now, we've not seen war. We've come up and grown up in a situation where everything is a story to us or something we've read about. So if you start telling Ugandans, and I've been caught listening carefully to Dr. Besigye, if they cannot allow you to do that. I don't know if he's trying to scare Bobi Wine, or if they refuse you to go to Nambole, do you think you can go to State House? What are you trying to imply? How many times have you run? Why are you still interested in this if it's not possible? You understand that? If Bobi Wine cannot be allowed in State House, why are you still even interested in this? He would have given up. Besigye has run almost 4 times. But he's still vocal. When you take away that Bobi Wine has strength right now as opposition, someone who would stand for opposition, Besigye has been the strongest opposition leader for a long time. But if at this point in time, I don't know whether he's discouraging Bobi Wine, because I'm failing to figure him where he belongs exactly. You say, you cannot take out Museveni during a ballot. But all these 4 times, you went to the ballot. Why didn't he go to the bush the first time? Why didn't he go to the bush to the second time? Why didn't you do something the 3rd time? He has already gone back to the ballot. And you're telling some other person, no, the ballot can't work. So he's confusing me. I don't know exactly where he stands or where he's going to. But again, this should not confuse Ugandans. We've seen dictators being taken out in a ballot. Because unless you're telling me now you've given up and left Museveni to die of natural causes, then you do not even have to get involved in any elections. Because if you're telling people Museveni cannot taken out through a ballot, how else are you going to take him out? There's no any other option unless you want to start another war. Because those are the only options, war or natural causes, or to take him out in an election. And this is very important to every Ugandan. I've seen there's a campaign by Bobi Wine and everyone who loves to see change. People, get your voters' cards. Go and get your Ndagamuntu. Because the challenge is so many people want change. I have mine. But change is not going to just come. And this is an example I was giving someone. Bobi Wine won all the constituencies of Chadondo East. Who voted?
The people of Chadondo.
Exactly. If the people of Chadondo are to vote on the presidential ballot and make Bobi Wine win all the constituencies of Chadondo East, can it happen? And this is what is going to happen everywhere else. If he won all the, let's use common sense. If he won all the constituencies of Chadondo East, yet there was a movement candidate, and he won them, can't he win all the constituencies of Chadondo East in a presidential election?
If everyone got their Ndagamuntu and everyone decided to vote, let's say, and whoever at that time is going to be the favorite runner for presidency. We don't know if Bobi Wine will run. We don't know if Elias Lukwago will run. We don't know if all these Mugisha Muntu will run. We don't know. But whoever at that time is going to run, do you see the possibility when everyone has their papers, their matching papers to vote, do you see the possibility of someone winning Museveni at the current rate that he is?
No, but you see, again, what Ugandans need to do is even opposition leaders right now, if you look at the likes of Besigye, and this is what I've been telling the people of our camp, sensitization is very important. Because there are areas, urban and pre-urban areas, understand they want change, they see change, they want to see things get better. You have a lot of work to do in the villages. People need to be sensitized. Because you're not going to get change only in pre-urban, urban areas and pre-urban areas. I know so many things are going to happen. It could happen exactly how it happened last year when in the last presidential election where ballot papers didn't appear in Kampala. But they appeared in the villages. If now you sensitize people in the villages and ballot papers appear there, people are going to vote different. If they're not going to, because Museveni has this tactic, our voters are in the villages, our voters are not in the urban centers. Go down in the villages and sensitize Ugandans who are there so that you get votes from them. But I see the leaders are spending a lot of their time talking of it is impossible, but themselves don't even give up. Because if it is impossible, as Dr. Besigye is talking about it right now, he should even be quiet. Because he has run 4 times and failed. If it is impossible, he should not even be talking about it. But there is a tendency of people discouraging and look at what happened even with Obama. So many people said it was impossible. You're a black man, you can't. Who are you? His father was not rich. He's not coming from any rich background in America. Here, when you look at his wife, doesn't come from any rich background. There was nothing to Obama that was presidential. Apart from he had integrity, he had been to the Senate, he had been to all these things, but he won an election. So Ugandans, again, need to move away from thinking things are going to just come easily to them. Go do your work. Sensitize on the ground. Get you on the Gamuntu. Mao failed to vote in 2016. You know what happened? He didn't have the voter's card. He was not a registered voter, yet he was a candidate.
Ironic, very ironic that you are an opposition leader and you don't have your voting card.
Yeah, he wasn't, and that is going to happen again. That is going to happen again because what you see is people sit back. People love talking and shouting on the surface and fail to do the hard work. Go and line up, wait for yonder government, however long it takes to get it, wait and get it, and then on the day, again move out and vote. Because look at all these by-elections that have happened. Who has been voting in the by-elections Bobby Wine has been involved in and they've won? Because, if you just look at your small surrounding, look at the by-elections that have happened. Who has voted? They were strong NRM candidates on those by-elections, right? But how did they win? And again, what people need to understand, votes before they come to the Electoral Commission are counted at parish levels. You cannot tell me that votes on your village, on your parish, are going to 7 got 2 votes. Because all these records are there. If you have agents on such polling stations and records, because by the time they get to what comes to the Electoral Commission is a reflection of what has been read at the parish level. So before they get there, have people on ground to see the results. I think Museveni can be 100% in a vote. But it's what they are doing right now, and what I'm seeing, and I've seen some bloggers, is to play with the minds of Ugandans to make them look like it's not impossible. Right. I think we are no longer at the level of it is not impossible.
I'm gonna start a conversation regarding opposition parties and all these political groups.
Before, can I just talk about the rhetoric Museveni used when he was saying that?
Yeah, 5 seconds before I continue to the next.
Moderator, let's be fair here.
We need to move. We're taking a lot of time.
But this is so imperative, like what Sarah has been talking about. So for the president to use such a rhetoric that we don't see the importance of conducting elections, I think that's not the right thing. As Ugandans, that should just wake us up and we fight this guy. We can't have such a leader uttering out nonsense that we can't. There is no need for having elections. So in other words, he's telling you that he's going to be a lifetime president, and that's why you saw him tampering with our Article 102B of our Constitution. So he removed the age limit because he thinks he can die in power. And we are saying, as young leaders, that can't be acceptable in our era. We can't be accountable for failing to remove the dictator from power to the next generation. So it's our generation that is responsible, and we should act now, no any other time. So for the president to be there and convince himself that he will die in power, that's wrong. You see, we had presidents in the past regimes who used to talk like that, or even in the history of our African continent. If you look at the
Amin had
Amin,
declared
yes,
himself the
yes,
vice president of Uganda.
Yes, look at the titles of Amin. He called himself Alhaji Idi Amin Dada, Field Marshal, President for Life, Conqueror of the British Empire, the Lord of all the beasts on the land and the fishes on the sea. So he had like very many titles, called himself MC, Lord of MC, the GMC, all those titles. But in 1979, when they sent Sabasabas from Tanzania, Amin was nowhere to be seen. We don't know even how he ran away from Uganda to Kenya to Saudi Arabia, where he died like a rabbit. So we are saying we are tired of this nonsense. We've had African leaders who thought they would die in power. Go to a country called the Gambia. Their former president, Yahya Jammeh, he had told them that I am going to lead the Gambia for 1 billion years. But right now, where is the guy? A small population of less than 10 million people, they overthrew the guy. And right now, we don't know the whereabouts of Yahya Jammeh. He went like that. Go to Ivory Coast and look at Laurent Gbagbo. How was he removed from power? Of course, he was speaking arrogantly like Museveni. But the way they removed Laurent Gbagbo from his state house, it was Pandagali. If you watch that video on YouTube, you can't believe it was a president. Go to Libya. How was Gaddafi also defeated? Gaddafi, who people looked at as, you know, as a small god, the way he was defeated, you can't even believe that Gaddafi could die in such a humiliating way. So for President Museveni, I think it's like the Bourbons who learned nothing and forgot nothing. Because if the past history can't teach him anything, then something is wrong with his head. And as young leaders, we are saying we can't have such leaders today in our country to continue taking our country forward. So as Sarah was telling you that we have to rise up. We have to create more awareness. Because if you are in national dialogue and you're talking about having a fair multi-political dispensation, having a free and fair assembly of all your political opponents, and today we are getting news that Bobby Wine is arrested in Jinja. Because before we came to the studios, I was watching Bobby Wine on Facebook, and he was warmly welcomed by the people of Jinja. So that alone didn't, give good signals to the government of Mr. Museveni. He was worried. Now he's trying to intimidate this young man that, hey, nowhere you should stop. You can't just go like that.
So I do have an issue that I want you guys to talk about, because I'm seeing so many people are talking about it right here. I'm going to take a moment to just read through your comments. I'm seeing a lot of people online talking about the arrest of Bobby Wine. We don't know much about what's going on since we're here discussing some of these topics with you guys. So we cannot give clear assumptions of what's going on, but you guys can keep updating us. We do have an update that has been posted, and I'll read that later. But for now, I see Elizabeth Odaya said, these people have a 50-year rule policy protecting their wealth. BSJ is an organized opposition by Museveni. Winnie Byanyima has kids from both Museveni and BSJ, so they are all the same. We also have Muyimba Robert saying, BSJ yagaliza kati yamera akasajja kumutima. And then someone is saying, nange ndaba mu obujja mu kintu kino. And then I'm seeing a lot of people saying things like BSJ is not in good terms with Bobby Wine, or he's sort of jealous over Bobby Wine and stuff like that. And this has been growing, this kind of sentiment has been growing over the last few months between BSJ and Bobby Wine, and what's going on between that two. Is there like an open hostility now that Bobby Wine is a bit more popular than BSJ? What is the situation? What is the current situation between those two?
I shouldn't expect to see an hostility, especially from a man who believes in change. BSJ has tried 4 times and failed. And maybe the reasons why BSJ has not been successful is because one, BSJ and Museveni are from the same background. They are all military. Partly it was personal grudges of how they came up. They know each other. They know their personal. One was a personal doctor to the other. So they have a lot of issues. And we cannot dismiss BSJ. He has done a good job. He has basically, BSJ has made the opposition strong. You wouldn't have seen the likes of Bobby Wine if it wasn't for BSJ. He's not someone that should ever be dismissed at any cost. he's the reason why you have, you had people come before in opposition and they were just jokers, the likes of Sebagal and the rest. They were just jokers. They didn't know what they want. They were doing stuff. Yeah, all those were just jokers. But the strongest bone you've had of opposition that has been resilient and understood all tests of time has been Besigye. But Besigye, there's nothing wrong with him paving way for the next generation. He has had 4 rides. And definitely, one thing you should expect, young people are going to keep coming up. When you groom people and you tell them it is possible, they are going to be coming up. Don't be surprised 4 years from now or maybe 10 years from now. There will be another Bobby Wine who does not know the Bobby Wine of today. And Bobby Wine of today has to help, either has to choose to help the Bobby Wine of tomorrow or start fighting him the way Besigye is doing right now. Because if Besigye, you're giving examples like, or how do you think you're going, they refuse you to go to Nambole and now you go to White House to State House. What has happened to Besigye? How many times has he been refused to do stuff? Is he in State House? I think he's just trying to install fear and make Bobby Wine lose confidence and then self-esteem that he can do it. But when I look at both of them, I think for me, if you're going to give a more plausible comparison, is Bobby Wine has stood the test of time in everything he has done. He has come from nowhere. When you got to know Besigye, it was when he had disagreed with Museveni. He was a colonel, they went to the bush, they looted. He has never talked about that. He has never talked about the looting. But if Museveni looted, Besigye looted. He was part of it. And they amassed wealth in whatever they did. He did not fight Museveni long ago. He was a colonel, he was in the army, he was his personal doctor. But after some time where he felt that, no, you're no longer, because I believe he had the 10-point program where he's supposed to leave power. All these generals, all these colonels wanted him to leave at a certain point, and when they saw him not following whatever he had said, that's when they said, no, we are going to come out and we want also a chance to rule this country. So I think at this point in time, Besigye would be so instrumental in grooming Bobby Wine than speaking in parables, than using stories to make him feel like he can't. Because if Besigye could, for the 4 times he tried, what makes him think that a Bobby Wine can't? Because the issue is not only, because one thing with politics, the issue is not only winning. The issue is even having the zeal and the courage to try. So many people, I listened to someone, he was saying that so many people want to take on Museveni. Some are closest even to him. Some are very rich, they have all the money in the world, but they are scared. So what Bobby Wine has done is, that's why Museveni is even more scared than Bobby Wine than Besigye. Because this is a young, Museveni has never been challenged by a 36-year-old. Has never been challenged by serious 60. All the guys that have been challenging Museveni have been older. And they won, if they were in their 40s or 50s, they didn't even have the popularity. This is a 36-year-old. This is someone with a clean slate. He has never, because just imagine if Bobby Wine had ever taken an envelope from State House, it would have been used against him right now. Even, for example, let me tell you one thing. Even if, I'm just going to use this example, even if tomorrow, Bebe Cool wanted to stand up and say, you know what, I'm going to do contrary, I don't want to support Museveni. He does not have the guts. He has eaten money from that man's pocket. He has eaten money from him. That's why he has to serve him until when he says, I'm done with you. That's what happens when you sell your soul to someone. Now the difference with the rest and Bobby Wine, Museveni has nothing on Bobby Wine. The only thing he had on him, which Ugandans refused to accept, was the treason cases, the charges they put on him. But they also don't make sense. He doesn't have anything on him. He has never fed his family. He has never eaten on his table. He has never paid for his medical bill. He has never done anything for him to feel he's indebted to him. Because those people feel like, and that's what they have. So I expect Besigye right now to be more nurturing, as much as, because I feel like Besigye feels Bobby Wine should be behind him. But everyone runs their own race.
Can I interject on that?
And you have failed. Leave someone else. Because I'm telling you, 10 years from now, there will be another Bobby Wine stronger than the one you have today. And either Bobby Wine will choose to stand with him and help him, or fight him just like Besigye is doing. Because if the belt can't, what else can't? He's not giving us any other way to take out Museveni, apart from him telling us the bout cannot.
Let me say something on that, Sarah. Well, to me, I'll kind of look at it in a different perspective. Because you see, as the public, we tend to have like different narratives from the speeches of our political leaders. Well, I had Besigye talking recently about the entire situation of the recent 2016 elections, and he was saying that he didn't want to stand, but he was, forced to come and, give it a chance again to see if he could find himself in the State House. Only it was so unfortunate that our current president had to rig that election. But to me, I think these two people are working hand in hand, because as the public, we can't know what they're doing at the back of the doors. Because for Museveni, you have to change strategies. So if you expect Besigye and Bobi Wine to come in public and lay out their strategies on how to defeat this dictator Museveni, then I think that won't work very well. I think right now President Museveni just needs surprises. As Besigye and Bobi Wine, since they are all in Kasangati, as residents of Kasangati, they can meet at night, then strategize. How can we lead to the downfall of this dictator? So for you, do your things in the back doors, because the public won't know, and they will be, quick to see loopholes here and there. But then at the end of the day, for you, the strategy that will lead to the downfall of this president. Okay. So for me, I'll give them a chance, because there is still a lot of time, because you haven't heard from Bobi Wine, trying to attack Besigye, and even me, I haven't seen like directly, maybe like Besigye saying, Bobi Wine, you have no mantle to take this country forward. I think he's supportive, because recently he had to also say that I was stranded when it came to the by-elections of that constituency of Bobi Wine. Chadondo East, because he was saying that in my political party I had a flag bearer. So as a former president of that party, it would look weird for me to support someone different. And to me, as someone who is affiliated with the ideologies of people power, I concur with him. Because as political parties, you have those obligations that if you are in UPC and there's a flag bearer, then you have to, stand behind that person. Unless when you've had like, an alliance or coalition and you've agreed upon to second someone else. So for politics, it's all about numbers. And we can't, attack one camp and we think at the end of the day we shall be successful. Because we need all these numbers united to defeat this tyrant leader we have today.
We do have a...
let me cut through a little bit, just on what he has said. You see, if you think you're going to relay a last-minute plan, politics, as much as it's a psychological game. You need to, 2021 is not very far. So whatever they're keeping up their sleeves that are at this point you're going to say, no, you're going to start speaking in parables, it becomes very hard. You're confusing Ugandans. You're confusing people for you to think at the last minute you're going out to relay a well-conclusive plan and have them, jump onto it. Because they could be having a plan. Yes, that's good. But I would expect them to be more encouraged. Because when you see such statements, and I've seen some bloggers use them, Besigye said that if they refused you to use Namboli, how do you think you're going to go to the State House? You're playing with the mindset, as much as, I don't know who it's working for, but you're playing with the mindset of people. And this is a generation of so many young people, they are confused. Today they listen to this, today they listen to that. That's why, exactly, you're confusing people. To the last minute, you're going to have so many people at the last moment. See, waiting home and say, no, I'm not going to vote. These guys are confused us again.
Yes, so Sarah, to that issue of Nambole, I would think...
I'm going to just cut you off, just to make sure that I read this off, because I know we're short for time. And Samba Simon is saying, people are just misunderstanding Dr. Besigye. He has no personal problem with Bobi Wine. Actually, he mentors him day and night. And they communicate living alone, making it clear publicly that, and I quote, This is what Besigye said. I can't allow myself to be seen as an obstacle in the struggle for change, which is, I mean, nicely put, which is pretty much what you guys are saying. I want to take this chance to recognize Quincy Barebe, who's watching us online. We are so sorry for your loss, and we send our condolences to you and the family for the loss of your father, Honorable Amon Reeves Muzora. He has been very instrumental in building Uganda Crossroads and building Campfire TV and building Life MTV Live, and we really, really feel for you. He was like a father to me and the rest of the people who go to the Fireplace Church. So we want to just send our condolences your way. We pray that you get strength. We pray that we know that trip is not going to be easy just going back. I know you're already going back to Uganda in the last few days, but now you actually have a reason that is very, it's not a good reason to actually be going back, and we feel for you. We are so sorry for your loss. The late Honorable Amon Reeves was a very staunch NRM supporter. He had integrity. He followed through. He was NRM through and through. He was the good part of NRM, and he stood by his party. He knew that maybe they had flaws, but he stood by that party and supported it day and night, because we had a chance of hosting him here, and he said nothing but good things about NRM. So he is someone we can learn from. He has been very, very knowledgeable, and we want to thank him for his service and everything that he has contributed to Uganda and the way it is right now. So Quincy, so sorry for your loss. And hopefully everything goes well with this trip to Uganda. We pray for you, and we hope that you guys can fight through this. I'm sorry to cut you guys off. I know we've gone back and forth over the whole this whole issue with Besigye and Museveni. So I want to close off the show with just this one topic that is, we talked about it when Sarah just came in, but now I want to get some clarity for people who have been watching us. This topic has been recurring for the last few weeks. The people of Lusanja. I don't understand what's happening. Sarah talked about a court letter came out, and they said they demolished the wrong houses. It was supposed to be for Mpelere. I don't know how for weeks you managed to damage people's houses. People are in tents. There is relief coming in, and none of your guys took time to actually read a court order that says, "Oh, this is Mpelere." I feel like that's really they're really taking us for granted. It's like they're telling us when we can't read. We can't sense, I don't know why this is happening. This is for weeks, we've been going over the same, for months actually, we've been going over the topic of Lusanja. And now out of nowhere, someone goes back and actually reads the form and it says Mpelere. So I want to hear what your take is on the matter, Hillary, and I want to hear, Sarah, what is this foolery? I don't know how to call it anything but foolery, because to me that's what it's like. I don't know who issued this letter, who made this mistake, who's to blame. Who are we going after? Because if the owner of the land, the one who actually said that this is my land, I'm going to chase all these people off. If he himself has been saying, Banange people, that is my land. He knows his land is in Pelere, so you're telling me now he is he just remembering? I want to understand what is going on, because who is fooling? I mean, we already now been fooled. So what should we do? What should we say? Walk me through this whole process, because I don't know anything. There's nothing I could say. So who are we blaming? Who are we putting to order on this situation? The judge, the people who carried out this law, the police themselves.
Yes. Now you have to in that issue of Lusanja, you have to look at all the influencers as people who ate nails for breakfast.
Who are the influencers? I want names.
So
we issued in.
Yes, they were different. They were different actors, because you see, you start from institutions like the judiciary, because it's the judiciary that issues the court orders. So from the judiciary, look at the person, which judge wrote or signed that petition. Then go to another institution called the police, the Uganda Police. Who are those police officers who accompanied these guys who broke these houses to go to the properties of our brothers and sisters in the Lusanja area? So again, it goes back also to the top leader, because he's talking recently, I think it was 2 days ago, he was talking about fighting corruption, because he was launching it. So he came up with something called the Anti-Corruption Unit, and he was stationing it in State House. So with the issue of Lusanja, it's going to clearly show you the level at which corruption is in our country, Uganda. it is no longer something simple. It is no longer something that we can cure as we as we Ugandans with the current leaders. So this regime has failed to curb the cancer of corruption. Not until we get a new leadership that can, bring a system that is going to fight corruption from top to bottom. Because if the president himself has failed to fight corruption, do you think the police officer who's earning peanuts is going to fight corruption? There is no way. Because recently, before, on the eve of the president launching this, this anti-corruption unit, you saw that we had the case of Sam Kutesa and Patrick Hong-Ching of Hong Kong and Museveni himself involved. The case was here with the federal government in the US, and the ruling was given.
Museveni said he thought it was a donation.
Yes, so you see that the president himself is called...
they brought it to me as a
yes.
donation.
And I'm like, now Museveni has become an NGO.
Yes. Now,
donations.
Right. Our president is Exhibit 1510. Look at Sam Kutesa is Exhibit 1508. And Patrick Hall is Exhibit 1504. But you see that Exhibit 1510 is blaming Exhibit 1508. So who is fooling who? Because again, to go back to the issue of Lusanja, that the president says something different, and the judiciary is also saying something different. And now you see that the one Kichoncho is saying that he's going to appeal. So he said, there is no way, I didn't get justice, now I have to go to the courts of appeal so that I can, get justice. So I think the issue of common law we have in our country is also trying to increase the levels of corruption we have today. Because with the common law, it says you're innocent until proven guilty. So for Kichoncho to be there, and again, because it's evident enough, even if you look at the Land Commission of Justice Bamugemerere, he was saying that this land eviction was done in a wrongful way. People were not, the stakeholders of that land were not engaged in dialogue to see how they can be compensated or how they can be maybe relocated from that area to another area. So this president is to blame. That's the issue number one. Because if he has failed to blame his foreign affairs minister, Sam Kutesa, yet there is a ruling in the US that Sam Kutesa took a bribe. And they're saying also Exhibit 1510 took a bribe. And Exhibit 1510 is only talking about Sam Kutesa. He can't talk about himself. There is a problem in our country. Our president is Exhibit 1510. Why can't he tell us that also he was in a wrong, he did something wrong, so that he can refund the donation, as he calls it. Sam Kutesa lied to me, it was a donation. Okay, so our dear President Museveni, if it was a donation, can you bring that donation to the government of Hong Kong so that we can clear you? And can you also tell your foreign affairs minister? I'm coming to the issue.
If it was a donation, he would have declared it to Ugandans. Then, and say, oh, hello, Uganda, call a press conference. He's good at that. He can do one in just seconds and say, oh, we've gotten a donation of 500,000 US dollars, and this is what he's going to do. But right now, because everyone is caught, it's a donation, and it's not a bribe. But Ugandans never gotten about the donation till now.
Yeah,
so they were donating to him as an individual as what? Is he an NGO? Is he one of the vulnerable children of Uganda? The elderly who need help? I fail to understand.
Yeah, so she was asking me, like, the actors, who are those people to blame? So I was still showing our host, Alex, that President is to blame because he has failed to take actions in very many occasions. Because if you go back again in the issue of 2007, when we had the Chogam Summit hosted in our country, you saw how our president also had to intervene and protect. He protected Bali Baseka Gilbert of Kenya. You remember Gilbert of Kenya swindled 19 billion Ugandan shillings that was meant to buy cars for Chogam. Where is that money? Today Kenya is out, and the president just let it go like that. Nasasira was also engaged in that issue. Go to the issue of these microfinance. Saida Boom, Specials, the former vice president of our country, Specials Wandera Kaziwe. She misplaced billions of money in that scheme of microfinance. But where is she right now?
If we're blaming Museveni, you're telling me Museveni got in a car to come to the aid of the poor in Lusanja. He came to see where they demolished all these things.
No. Constitutionally, he is given the mandate. So we give him the mandate by law in our constitution that he can take actions as the president of our country.
Hold up, this is where I'm coming from. You're telling me we made a full president, a whole president come to Lusanja, yet the land they actually demolished, we were not supposed to even demolish that land, but we made the president come to Lusanja. And yet we were supposed to go to Mpelere. So who are we? We can't blame Museveni for coming to Lusanja because that's what the incident was. So now, are they demolishing more? Are they going to demolish whatever houses are standing?
No, of course, very many people are losing their houses in this regime of Mr. Museveni because with the issue of land grabbing, it has eaten up our entire country. Every corner of our country you go to, people are complaining, they are crying that the army is taking away their land. The rich are taking away their land. So for the poor peasants who are in our country, they have to cry, they have no solution. The only hope they have is to ensure that we have a fundamental change in our political system. Once we retain this president in office for the next 5 years or 7 years, then we are going to remain in the state of quagmire. So as Ugandans, we have to rise up and, bring a new leader with new ideas, with new, transformation ideas that are going to take our country forward. Because I was still giving you examples of how corrupt this regime is. Because you heard about the issue of the 2016 IDs. Because they got a German firm and they gave it, over 150 billion Ugandan shillings to print IDs. But by the time of the elections, they had only printed 400 IDs. So the money disappeared like that in a scheme project. Then if you go to also the minister of the Prime Minister's office, you remember very well how Kazinda, who was the accountant in that office, also swindled 5 billion Ugandan shillings. And he was taken to Ruzira, and the other guys were left away. Look at the issue of Temangalo. How much did Mbabazi steal after saying that they are selling 124 acres of land through the scheme of NSSF. So those who are saving their pension through NSSF, they lost monies because first of all, Mbabazi, skyrocketed the price of an acre because they brought surveyors and they were telling them that each acre was costing less money than what Amama Mbabazi was telling them because that land was in the village. But again, the president was very careful with that. Then you're like, well, where are we going as Ugandans? Because if you have such leaders who are doing these things and to them 7 sees that the minister is corrupt, then tomorrow he just promotes him rather than taking him in jail. So if we can't indict and convict our leaders who are corrupt and the big fish, because they're usually getting the mukene, the silver fish, the small fish. So how about the big fish? So we want to say that Mbabazi is in jail, is accountable for that. We want to say that since there is a ruling, Kuteesa took the bribe, can't he put Kuteesa in jail? Nothing. So this shows you how incompetent this president is. And to make matters worse, the president is saying that he's putting the anti-corruption unit in the State House. Now imagine, State House is one of the most corrupt offices we have in our country. And again, you're saying that you're putting that anti-corruption office unit in the office. Then how about the other institutions that are fighting corruption? Because we have the office of the IGG, Irene Mulyagonja. So our office was put there constitutionally to fight corruption. Why can't you work hand in hand with her, other than bringing, Brigadier Nareiso to say that she's going to fight corruption? So you see how now he's trying to bring fights among institutions. So how about the office of the DPP? So what are they going to do? Because now this Nareiso's anti-corruption unit is taking over their roles. So now you see that they're going to fight against themselves. If you look at the former IGG Faith Monda, she was also complaining of the same things. Today you try to fight those who are corrupt in this government. You try to attack the big fish in the government, and the president himself is trying to fight you. Because they have mafias within the regime, they are going to fight you. So now you just have to feel sorry for the residents of Lusanja. That because we have mafias in this regime that don't care about the peasants in our country, they are going to take away their land. So Bobby Wine was recently telling the parliament, the Right Honorable Speaker, that for how long are we going to look at this issue without compensating the victims of Lusanja? For how long are they going to remain in these tents if they had permanent structures that, could give them the warmth during night times? Because, we are in a cold season. It's raining nowadays. And with the issue of rains, now they have nowhere to, help themselves. Maybe they want to make short calls or long calls. Now we are promoting unhygienic situations of cholera or diarrhea. So do we want to see our brothers and sisters suffering like this under the regime of Mr. Museveni and we keep silent? That's why we are here to come and, awaken Ugandans. We can't have such things going on and just keep silent. Let's rise up, let's speak up each and every day, because this president is a dictator. He can't listen. The only time he can listen is when we speak up. And we have to be resilient when we are speaking up. Never stop speaking up until we get the victory we want at the end of the day.
All right. We have people commenting about this issue. We do have Frey Iwari saying they got caught red-handed, that's why they failed to take that land. And we also have Serada Omai saying, Elizabeth, he doesn't understand the word as many people are bringing different meanings, or others are thinking Sonny Baganda who are weak and get the power. I've not understood that properly. Yeah. We have Okello William is saying, don't be fooled. Every high-rated corruption scandal involves the president or his closest allies and family members. All this money goes to offshore accounts, and more is invested in Uganda through these commercial banks building expensive hotels and private schools, arcades in major towns.
Yeah, I agree with Okello.
And these properties are not in their name, so none of them can be traced. We have also another person saying, I'm starting to believe, Izzy Lewis is saying, I'm beginning to believe Tamale, Murundi, and Dr. Kalisa. And then we also have, Alex Sekabra saying, we still have a lot to go, the whole system is rotten. And then he's also saying, Lusanya people don't expect compensation from government, just which is, I think, the new slogan that's going around. For the next, just to finish up this show, we're going to be finishing up in the next few minutes. I'm going to give Sarah a chance to conclude on the topic of Lusanja, the Port Lusanja, and what the situation is before we can end the show. So, Sarah, take it away.
Yeah, taking it away from the last comment that the people of Lusanja will never get compensation, I think the sooner they start putting that in their minds, the better. They will not be compensated. So many people have never been compensated for the things government has taken away from them. I don't want to start naming.
If you say they're not going to be compensated, does that mean? Oh, because I remember Chicho saying that he did compensate few people before they were told to evacuate their land. Does that mean they're going to be compensated again?
This is what I think. And people now, if the High Court has ruled that the eviction was supposed to be in Impedire, not Lusanja, this is what I will say. People are now need to start paying attention to what has been happening. The land in Lusanja.
Sarah, before let me just ask you a small question. Like, do you think that no ruling is, right, or is just a political game just to confuse Ugandans more?
The ruling could be right, but what people want them to pay attention. When the president visited the area, there was statements that came out that Salim Saleh had been on the land before. Now Ugandans need to wake up. That land is owned by someone, not even Tichoncho. Someone is owned by someone closest to Museveni. And they used, because this is something to tell you, institutions in Uganda are useless and they do not work, because there is no way you can come up with the eviction of Campfire and then you end up and use it of Lusanja. Completely different. I know they are going to end up in court, but no one is going to be compensated.
It's going to disappear in like a few weeks.
And they should start, if Salim Saleh used to visit this land, now people need to wake up. Chichoncho is a decoy. This land is owned by a big wing in government. But the situation of Lusanja should be an eye-opener to so many other places where evictions are going to happen, because they're not going to stop. You've seen what has been happening in Hoima. People's lands have been taken away because of the oil. Because of the oil situation, every area these girls have felt that it is prime, people have lost their lands and they have nowhere to report. People have been given very small amounts of money for the lands they've owned for a very long time.
Exactly.
And either people have sold the lands to themselves minus even questioning anyone.
Yeah, I
So
can
for
give
the
you two more examples on that issue of land. If you look at also this Entebbe Express Highway,
Yeah.
Some people are not yet compensated. Others were, given less money compared to the value of their land. Go to the issue of also around Nakawa MUBS, Makerere University Business School, around the railway. Very many people were evicted.
Talk about, you see the Northern Bypass? A friend of mine was given an option either to take the money they were giving him or to lose completely because the land was going to go through part of his house. So he had to just go away with whatever he was given, not to lose everything compensated, because his own evaluation from his surveyors showed a different figure from what they were giving him. So the people of Lusanja, they are peasants. They literally, apart from their member of parliament who are going to speak for them, they don't have anyone else to speak to them, for them. I saw in parliament last time, Bobby Wine said one of, I think, an 11-year-old was raped in Lusanja because they sleep in tents and because of the situation. So much is going to happen. But again, back to Ugandans. Let us use the eviction of Lusanja as an example to stop any other evictions coming up. As much as we do not want to incite people, but Weberelemu does not mean sit back and relax. If such things come to your area, you're going to do anything you can to stop the eviction. I told you, this guy, Kasiria Gwanga, it single-handedly stopped people from destroying his land. Single-handedly. I'm not asking you to acquire guns. I'm not asking you to do anything. I'm not asking you to ban cars. But at the same time, you should know, after the eviction in Lusanja, there was an eviction again that was happening at in some other area. I think it's one of, on the shores of Lake Victoria. There's one of the islands. An eviction was happening. And the people stopped the eviction. So these evictions are going to continue happening. But Ugandans, you're going to wake up and stop the eviction. Because there were so many people to lose their houses. Government is not going to compensate them. That's for starters. And they should know, if this land, if it's not owned by Salim Saleh, there is a big wing closest to Museveni. And don't tell me Museveni didn't know. Because, and people should learn the way these guys play games. Anything he promised them that he's going to do for them after the eviction, what has he done? Because for things right now, and this is what I always, when I was telling someone about this, I wish people of Lusanja had reacted and the court order comes when their houses are still standing. Because right now, there's not, so many people have left the land, they've either rented or done something. A few are still fighting, one of them is going to be killed one by one, or something is going to happen. So it is really hard to start fighting now when you have nothing, literally, almost, you don't even have nothing much to fight for, because they've weakened, by putting your house down, they've already weakened you.
Yeah,
so,
and let me just give you an example again. For me, I keep wondering, why can't the government compensate these many people, and yet it's compensating just a few, like an individual? You remember very well, the billions of money that were given to Basajja Balaba. On the orders of Mr. Museveni, he lost markets, and the president gave an order, give him billions of money. So why is it hard for the president to compensate this number of people?
That is what he did. Basajja Balaba works for Museveni.
That's so funny.
Just give me any simple common sense and reason why Basajja Balaba would be compensated that amount of money.
That's why I was asking myself that's very question.
But because the people in the market, that was that's meat packers.
Yeah.
People fought
on Ginger Road.
And they were not willing to bow down. Museveni, the only way Museveni would get back his money was to pay himself through Basajja Balaba.
Right.
So he was paying himself. Because what is the interest? Do you think they're going to compensate the people of Lusanja? Already when they're claiming they paid them.
Yeah, I think with resilience and the pressure we put them on, maybe something will be coming up.
Lusanja, you see who is fighting for the people of Lusanja? I see Bobby Wine and I see the other member of parliament who I've not seen him do much. The people of Lusanja have not... Yes, and Sajirinya Muhammad. The people of Lusanja are quiet. They are waiting for someone to come and rescue them. Look at what happened in Tunisia. It was, the uprising came from a lady who was selling vegetables, and they caused change. The people of Lusanja are waiting for Bobby Wine to do miracles. Bobby Wine is not God. the people of Lusanja are waiting for miracles
And
to happen.
look at the Prime Minister's office, because they say they help out people in disasters, and
They
they
give them
fail
1
to
cent.
help these
They fail
people.
them to give them.
Then
They were
you
they-
keep wondering, why do we have this ministry in
They
office,
don't. The
in
ministries,
place?
the ministries only hold titles, but they are non-functional. Because if you look at all the things, even the corruption case of Museveni and the guy who and Kutesa, if it was a donation, the ministry, there must be a ministry that got to know about the donation coming
donation,
in.
if it's a
This is a
donation.
donation to Uganda. This is a donation not to Museveni. Because why are they donating? Is Museveni one of the elderlies that are senior citizens that need donations? Because none of the institutions work. I've been listening to issues that happen in so many places, like Ministry of Lands, and I was shocked to hear, even in Ministry of Lands, they forge land titles. In fact, I was telling a friend of mine, for you right now to make a decision and buy land in Uganda when you don't live in Uganda, you're wasting time. I would rather keep my money on an account and invest in America than investing in Uganda. Because the forgery of land titles stems from inside Ministry of Lands. So literally someone can sell to you land that doesn't
Sarah,
exist.
on that issue of investment, let's encourage our brothers and sisters to go back home and invest.
Invest well,
because
I don't mind them. I don't mind people
we
investing,
need
but
we
if
need
you're gonna,
our investments to run on
I
in
want
our
people
country.
to invest, but it doesn't make sense you going through winter and all that for you to buy land in Uganda thinking, yes, I've done something, and then tomorrow you discover you don't even have even a drop of soil in Uganda. It doesn't make sense. People have to be, I'm not telling them don't invest, people have to be more vigilant. Because if now the corruption stems from within Ministry of Lands, before you put down your money to buy land, you need to make sure you dig everything. Get lawyers, make sure they turn every table.
Alright.
Make sure every file must be turned. Otherwise, so many people, I've had so many cases of friends of mine who bought land when they're abroad, and there's no land in Uganda. And how much are you going to fight? You're fighting with someone who's sending you messages, they're going to kill you. You're joking, you don't know who you're dealing with. You're going to give up and come back and say, you know what?
Immediately.
Yes, you're going to give. So many people can be faithful.
Yeah, I
Let
think
me go back home.
they just have to be careful when you're buying
I'm
land.
gonna cut you off because this topic will never end. If we got to give this to time, we'll never see the end of this conversation. I want to thank everyone who has been tuning in for the Campfire, for the Uganda at Crossroads. We had a few more heated topics, but today we're going to cut it short for just right now because we have another show that's supposed to be airing in the next few minutes. But I'm going to thank everyone who tuned in, gave me the comments, said what you had to say online. I've seen everyone commenting. I'm sorry I haven't read all the comments that are online because we ran out of time, but continue messaging us, continue leaving us your advice or any feedback that you guys want us to, take a note of. If you want to see any topics that you want us to talk about, and we will invite the necessary people who are supposed to be here so they can talk to you about those topics. But feel free to just love on the show. Please share and like the page, Life MTV Live, the Campfire Talk Show, as well as Campfire TV. The actual page will be coming soon, so keep an eye out for that. But for now, we want to say thank you for all those guys who have tuned in. Please don't forget to send your condolences to Quincy Barebe. She's a woman-elect for Anne Arundel County in Maryland, the first one of the Ugandan women to make a career path in politics here in the USA. So she lost her father yesterday, the late Honorable Amon Reeves, and we're with her in prayer. And in gratitude, we just want to thank them for everything, love on them, do your best. Tomorrow there's going to be a vigil held out for the family at the Fireplace Church at 91 Felton Street. My producer is going to put the flyer on the screen for you guys to see, and we're going to be posting that on our page. Please take a moment to send your condolences, call the family, see how they're doing, and see if there's anything you can do to help. They will be traveling to Uganda in the next few days as well too. So we'll put those details out for you guys online. But for now, we just want to send them our prayers and our well wishes. For now, I've been Alex, your host with the Mostest. We hope to see you guys next week on Saturday, and hopefully we'll have a lot more happening then, and we'll have a lot to discuss. We are going to be replaying the interview with His Lordship Elias Lukwago, the mayor of Kampala. You guys stay tuned. You can share the page, share the video, and love on us anytime that you want. We'll see you again next time. Have a lovely day. Bye.